Good Friday morning. I think I'm on here. Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. We'll wait a minute or two. I hope everyone is doing okay. Oh, I like that I can see when people leave. It's like, oh, I've had enough of this. I'm out. Oh, and then back. Oh, internet connections are great. If I go over it that way, I'm not so glary. Why is that over there? We'll start by doing that. Even though I'm guessing I haven't checked, I've got some done. Just to remind people that technically, it's over here. The trig identities, 12 plus. I think I've got 2 by email, maybe 1. That's good. It's due today by midnight or whenever you get it done. If you know someone who's not able to show up and is still interested in stuff, tell them to check everything out. That's what we're going to talk about quickly today. Where am I going? I click here, takes me back. Oh, we're still at 10 of you. Well, 12. Hayden showed up. I think.
Wait, Mr. McKay.
Hi.
Hi. Where was the trig identities thing under assignments?
Yeah.
I don't see it on my screen.
That may be because I think you're one. If you passed it in, I don't know. Yeah, according. Come on, brain.
Oh wait, yeah, maybe I did pass it in.
Because I'm pretty sure you did. I'm just trying to find
Okay.
your name because I'm having alphabet issues at the moment. I thought you
Okay.
did.
Thanks.
I. Now my screen shows different than yours. Now, graded. Yeah, anyone who had passed it in before the other day, I had gone over it and done stuff. So if it's returned, it should be somewhere else. Oh, I got 1, 2, 4 more. All sorts of people have viewed it, except for Ryan and Madison. But again, if you do everything else and don't do this, my gosh, you missed one thing. Let's see. 13. All right.
Mr. McKay.
Yes.
So I watched yesterday's like the YouTube link that was there, but is it just the assignment that we were given? Did you give us another assignment yesterday?
I put a second one up, but that's not due until I think next Monday, May the 4th, I think. Because it's, I mean, technically you can do everything, I think, now. Um, Nobody's turn. Oh, this is what I want, student view. Um, I mean, because a lot of it is should be fairly straightforward. Um, but I think I set it for after I put it up there and then misspelled assignment and changed it and put misspelled assignment a second time and changed it and then realized, oh, um, if if I don't have the file there, nobody can do it. So yeah, so it'll be the same idea. I'll go through and kind of check, give you, if you've done it and gotten feedback, I just kind of point out the questions that weren't totally right because that's really all I can do if that's the case. But if after we go through this sort of stuff, um, that kind of might be it. So far in transformations, these are the things that we've looked at. Vertical and horizontal translations. Oh, y equals a f depending on personality. I like that. It's gone back and forth to h and k. Whatever, h plus k. Your vertical stretch is your k, your horizontal stretch is your negative h, so the opposite sign. Your vertical stretch is your a, your horizontal stretch is your b. A mapping rule, well, it's not just x, is x and y goes to bx plus h, comma a y plus k. That sort of thing. Drawing the image function, which is your given an equation, write a mapping rule, put a point through it, write an equation for given images. We haven't done a whole pile of that. Write an equation when giving a mapping rule. And these are the three that we talked about yesterday. Across the x-axis by negating kind of the y, across the y-axis by negating the x, and across the line y equals x. So we just interchange our x and our y. So this has got a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not going to go through all of it today because I don't want to take up time. And we got an email that's like, be cognizant of time. Only evaluate or only assign things that you're going to actually evaluate. And it's like, well, that's hard for a grade 12 math or grade 11 or 12 math or chemistry course because you need a little bit of practice. And that's kind of why I'm going to go through some of these. I'll do a couple, state the transformations in each figure. This is one, how would we draw a graph that's stretched? Draw a reflected or stretched vertically by a factor of a half, reflected across the x-axis. So these are some kind of graphing ones to practice. And then draw the function. Make up your own function with 3 to 5 points. That one isn't super. I mean, if you can do that and like send it to somebody, that would be the ideal way to do number 8. So that's kind of my plan today. What are we up to now? 14 of you. So write the mapping rule for each function. So this goes back to what are the odds that I'm going to be able to select this whole thing? No, that whole thing. And this whole thing. Copy. Well, so these are all equations that we want to write. Well, I don't really have a whole lot of space where to put that. A mapping rule somewhere over there. So, oh, let's see which ones look like fun. If I want to write a mapping rule for this one, in with the x, all we have is an h, so we have to go x plus 2. The y, I've got a negative a value, and a plus 4, so negative y plus 4, so that one's going to have a reflection and that sort of stuff. Let's find one that's, let's do that one. In with the x, I've got a number in front, so we know we need to do the reciprocal, a half minus h minus 1, so that becomes plus 1. We got a number out front, a number at the end, so we have an a and a k, so 5y plus 7. So if you're really comfortable with this and don't want to waste time, you could start doing these things on the assignment. I just want to go through a few more examples and go from there. Oh, what are the odds? I can paste those again. Yoink. So question number 2 is kind of the same thing, but the opposite direction. If you're given a mapping rule, well, in this case, I have a B, so I'm going to put a B in for here. I have an H, I'm going to put that over there. So this one, y equals, I'm going to have f of a half, x minus 4 becomes x plus 4. So that's my x part. I have a negative y, so negative goes in front. There's no a value other than the negative 1 and plus 6. Meeny, meeny, miny, mo. Which one looks the most? Oh, can't tell if that's a question or just the fact that Benson doesn't have his microphone muted. I was just watching a video of this like teacher comedian guy and talks about online classes, and you guys are all really good and you only unmute when you have a question or something to say, and it's like, oh, he's talking about classes that are rowdy and whatnot, and just, oh, I can mute you all. Oh, if only I could do this in real life. So D, we have a negative 1/2 as our A. We have a minus 3 way over here. F of, well, we have negative x minus 1 or plus 1 becomes minus 1, and there's an equation. State the transformations. HT, VT, HS, VS, and a reflection. So those are the sort of things that we would be looking for. Horizontal translation is our x, the plus or minus, so this is negative 2. Vertical translation of negative 6. Horizontal stretch, there's nothing, so that's a 1. Vertical stretch, now this is something that I've had all sorts of discussions over the years. The vertical stretch, how far it's stretched up and down is 4. The negative says it's reflected in this case because it's a negative y. The x-axis, you a reflection and a stretch are two different things, and the stretch part of this is 4. The negative tells us different information, so we aren't going to put that in with that. Clone. Let's go look at a mapping rule. Whoa. Okay, maybe not. Well, I want to look at a mapping rule, but oh, I like that one. That one would be an awesome test question. Horizontal translation is negative 1. Vertical translation is positive 6. Horizontal stretch is 3. Vertical stretch, there's a 1 in front of that, so that's just 1. because I have a negative with the x, reflect it's a reflection across the y-axis. This one would have a reflection across both. This is the one that's cool because, well, there's the only transformation for that reflection across the line, y equals x. None of the other ones have that one. So there we go with that. So the next 2, 3, 4, 5, you can do these kind of a couple of ways. I personally would, is that the first question? Yeah. I would personally make a mapping rule. XY, draw a graph that has been stretched horizontally by a factor of 2. Personally, this is what I would do. You can, we have A, do this a little bit different. That's -3 and -3, -6. So that would map to 2 times -3 is -6 and -6. The point B is -2 and -2. That's going to map to -4 and -2. C is 1 and -4. I feel like, yeah. I don't know why I thought there was another transformation there. That's going to map to 2 and -4. And D is 4 and -2. Would map to 8 and -2. So this is A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. So it just pulls this graph out 3, 4, and then we could, if we wanted to, connect our dots. So it's just pulled it out. If you recognize that, well, if I'm stretching it by 2, this is going to move twice the distance it is from the y-axis, so that moves over 3. This one, because it's stretched by 2, it moves over 2. Over 1 goes over 1. Over 4 more. Stretch vertically and reflected across the x-axis. So again, I probably would build a mapping rule and go from there. Stretched vertically. Let's see if we can do this in 2 steps. The other option. Oh, did that one ask for an equation? What would the new equation be? Whoa, not a dot. This would be y equals f of a half x is the only thing we can do there. So if we wanted to do a mapping rule, well, if it's reflected across the x-axis, the x-coordinates don't change, but the y's do. So the other kind of way to do this is to do it in kind of 2 steps. If it's stretched or by a half, A is originally, this is -6. So A, if we're stretching, it goes to here, B goes to here, C goes to there, and D goes to there. So that's kind of our intermediate. And then if we reflect that across the y-axis, 1, 2, 3, so, well, we'll call that A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime, A double prime goes to there, B double prime reflects across to there, C goes to, that's, sorry, I just had kind of like a light flash behind my eye. I don't think that's very good. So there is our graph. What we would be looking for. Our mapping rule was, and I'm just going to do a couple of them. So that's -3 and -6 goes to, well, it's still -3. A half of 6 is 3, negated is 3, so that's the coordinates for there. We can do the mapping rule. But if it doesn't ask you the equation, -half of f of x, because there's nothing with the x. You actually, if it just says draw the graph, if you process and do each one, I don't think it technically matters whether you translate. Oh my gosh, leave me alone. And you have to vote for NBTA stuff. So our NBTA people are sending us emails. So we have y equals x. This one, that one, draw a graph that's translated. What would the new equation be? I'm going to do a couple more. Just because we haven't done a lot of these. This one, because of xy goes to y x. So I think this is -3, -6 is going to go to -6, -3. That's a prime, -2, -2 will go to, well, that's interesting. Oh, no, yeah, -2 and -2. We'll talk about that one here in a sec. C, 1, -4. It's going to go to -4 and 1. D, 4, -2 is going to go to -2 and 4. So -3, -6, -3 is A prime. Well, that's B prime. -4 and 1. That's interesting. C prime, -2 and 4. D prime is there. I want to connect my points with a nice pretty green line. A, B, C, D. Everything looks good. Why is B not changed? Well, if I do my line y equals x, B is on that line. So if it's already on that line, it's not really going anywhere. So that's why that one is, and now it looks kind of funny. Hopefully I plotted my points correctly, but that looks pretty good. Those are kind of fun. It's, you can think of it almost as, well, it's a reflection, not really a rotation. That one reflected across the y, translated left and up. Draw the function represented by the equation. Now we have an equation. Let's use our mapping rule. X plus 3. No, let's -2y plus 1. when we have personally, I've got three different things. I'm probably just gonna map this out because if we do a translation of three and then do the stretch by two and then reflect and then move it over, because we have those, we're going to have so many points on the graph like we did back here. Um, when you get to something that has multiple transformations, um, it's just going to be easier um, to map, do this part out and get everything. So negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Two sixes are 12, plus 1 is 13. We may not be able to plot that one. So negative 2 plus 2 is 1. 4 plus 1 is 5. C prime, D prime. 1 and 4. 1 plus 3 is 4. 2 times negative 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 7. 4 plus 1 is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Da da da. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So A prime is going to be somewhere up there. If it's not on the graph, I wouldn't be super worried. If you are doing these on like a piece of graph paper or whatnot that you have. Now, some people are going to say, well, just change the scale. Well, the problem is these points are already at a particular thing. If I change, you can't change the scale of half of the graph because it would look kind of foolish. 1, 2, B prime, 4, 9. So oh right, we've reflected it, we've stretched it up, and we've moved it over, up and over. So these are the sorts of things. 8, you can try. Make a function with 5 points. Write an equation that has 4 transformations. Write a mapping rule, apply and draw. This is the sort of thing where, were we in class, okay, you're going to do 1, switch it with somebody, get them to check it, make sure you've done things properly, look at it, or assign someone, here's a graph and the transformations, you do that sort of thing and whatnot. But I just want to be cognizant of time. I don't want to keep everybody all day. I don't know if some people are trying to do hour-long lectures, which, I mean, even in class I don't talk for, I try not to talk for an hour. That's not what I wanted. I want it over here. So right now we've done enough that you should be able to try to start that assignment. Again, because of time, I don't know if we're going to continue with transformations or step forward. Uh, but this is to practice. List the stuff. Write a mapping rule.
Okay.
Yes.
What time is the trig identities assignment due?
According to the program, it says midnight tonight, but different people have asked over like the few days. If it's, I'm pretty sure it's set. I'm just gonna double check. Um, back. Like it's set that late assignments, Like you can, if you do it and submit it tomorrow, um, like yeah, it says assignment allows late turn-ins. So it's the whole situation with this is if you don't have something in on that day that I arbitrarily picked 2 weeks ago, because well, you can't go in at lunch and ask questions. You can't ask in
Yeah.
class. So I can't be, and I'm really like, if there's major issues, I probably would email somebody and say, okay, you need to take a look at some of these questions, but we're going to have an assignment on trig identities. I already know most of you can do all of the other stuff. There'll be like this assignment on transformations. There'll be I want to say almost like a weekly assignment. Well, if there's 10 of them and you do 9 of them, that like if I marked them, they would have been well over a pass. It's like, okay, good, you're done. If this one just isn't clicking and isn't making sense, and then you look at the um, transformations one and you do all of that right, well, geez, and you do everything else right, one assignment isn't going to make or break. If a teacher is saying that, I think they have some fundamental issues with how this whole thing is, but that's just my personal philosophy. Um, so if as far as I can tell, if you like it, assignment is due, late turn-ins are allowed. I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it as late turn-ins are allowed because I want you to be able to turn things in late because this whole situation is insane, and I know I've talked to a couple people through email that are working 40 hours a week because they work at a store that is open and they need people. So gosh, if you have it passed in by if you've only done like 4 or 5 of them and you pass one in on the last day of June, okay, sure, we're good. So that's my opinion. I mean, I haven't heard anything from any of the other teachers that contradicts that. So the more you do closer to when they're due, it's the same idea as in school. Well, I'm not going to talk about trig identities a whole lot for the next little while, or well, technically again. I probably will post like an old exam review. These are the things that you should know how to do. Am I going to make it an assignment? No, because that means I have to go through a whole bunch. But well, it's most people, I don't know how they're taking pictures with their phones, but it comes up on my screen sideways. So I either have to, I know how to turn my screen that way, but a lot of people are doing these in pencil on white paper. And when you take a picture, like, I know it's there. It's like I'm trying to look at them this way and squinting and all of that. So if I give you like a 20-page exam review thing, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have that kind of time. So it'll just be whatever. Like I know if Lauren's here, if I start talking about a 20-page exam review, she's probably going to start to freak out and get mad at me. But no, there's not going to be anything like that. There's not going to be, unless some miracle changes and all of a sudden we're all back in school in June, which to be honest, I would.
They wouldn't make us do exams.
Oh no, I don't. I don't think from everything I've seen, the odds that we actually end up in the school for like classes is I would peg at less than 5%. Are they going to let people back into the building, maybe staggered because a whole bunch of people have stuff in lockers? How do we get that stuff all out? I'm going to have to go back and like clean up and get stuff ready. Like eventually people will be back in the building, but the way they've worded everything is if they all of a sudden say, "Oh, well, you have to give an exam based on the stuff you've done," it's like it's gonna be the easiest exam you've ever seen because it's like it'd be a group exam or something like that. So I wouldn't. There's no. I don't worry about anything like that. Um, we'll do some assignments and take your time. If you have questions, you can email me. Because I have my email notifies me when I get an email, and even if you send something through Teams that you think multiple people may have the same question, um, that notifies me when Brady liked or laughed at one of my things because I couldn't type yesterday and all of that. So,
That was hilarious.
oh yeah, and then it was like the third time I.
I think it's still wrong.
What? No, it's what? I actually added the file the third time. Transformations, ASSIG, transform rations. Shit.
It's okay. All this time is getting to us.
Transformations. There we go. Just for now you're all going to get a notification that Mr. McKay was in. Assignment details have been modified.
Yeah.
But we should just. Oh, it doesn't have video. Okay. Well, I don't want to keep. I'm sure some people have already said, "What the hell is going on?" We don't have to be here anymore. That's all I have to talk about. Check if you have some time on the weekend, and I'll post hopefully some more stuff that we'll do next week. But because of time, I don't know if I want to do more transformations or just say, "Hey, you've been exposed to transformations and mapping rules, and we're going to use them when we graph other functions." Um, so that's some work for me, but we'll go from there. So if
Alright, thanks, Jay.
no problem, have a good weekend, everybody.
Okay, I have a question.
Go for it. I'm not leaving until most of you leave.
Okay, sounds good. What is like? Oh, I had a question.
Oh dear.
Okay. What did you mean with like the compare that? Like it was like it was a question about comparing something with another person. Maybe I like heard that wrong,
Oh,
so I could be way off. But
yeah. I think it's this. My desktop is still shared, right?
yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
it's like if we were in class, this question here, number 8 on this one, would be one that you could say, okay, Julia, pick 5 points, draw your lines, make up something, write a mapping rule, you do it, and then give somebody else the original 5 points and your equation and have them do it. But that sort of thing would be like an in-class activity to,
Okay.
but this is no, like question 8 is kind of optional. You can do it, but and if you did it and had questions, you could send it along, but
That's not necessary.
no. I wouldn't expect you
Okay.
guys to be like emailing each other questions. That seems
Okay.
that seems
Just making sure.
no worries.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a good weekend, everybody.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Good.
No problem.